So let's start with the module 2's first chapter. So let me bring in the reference I collected. So in this chapter we'll be creating an oil barrel. Oil barrel is a fairly simple model. In terms of modeling, it is very easy, not very complex shapes. But as you can see by the reference I have collected, the textures are very complex. Complex in the sense they have multiple layers onto them. Here you can see one oil barrel on which this is a painted oil barrel which has been rusted, oxidized, and here there is one more barrel which is painted, but there's been chipping away of paint due to frequent usage. And here there is one more barrel which has oil leakage, oil spills, more like oil spills, and there's one more barrel here which has been rusted a lot, and there's one more barrel. I think this is a 3D game asset. We are trying to achieve overall look of this barrel. Okay, and this is for the cap reference to see how we are going to model the cap. So I did some research. So usually the height of the oil barrel is 32 inches and width is 23 inches. So let's start. Before we start, I'll show you one folder structure which I usually use. The folder structure is as follows. Here it is. I created one folder naming it oil barrel, and I created 3 folders in it. One is four folders. One is named by assets, images, references, and textures. So let's open up Maya. Before that, I forgot to do one important changes, and I forgot to tell you one very important thing. Let's move this out, and let's go to Windows, settings and preferences, and click on preferences, and scroll down until you see undo. For you, it will be by default set to finite queue size 50. You just have to click on infinite and save because you want infinite undos. Okay, and now let's go to let's go under settings menu. Let's change it to inches because here the units are in inches. Okay, and let's save. Now again, and before we move any further, let's set project window. So let's go under file, set project, and click on oil barrel. Before that, let me show you. Let me delete this. Okay, so let's open up Maya, file, set project, and let's set this oil barrel folder as project folder. Okay, so click on oil barrel and click on set. So here the Maya is going to tell you that this location does not contain a project definition file workspace.mel. Please select one of the following options. So it says that this workspace.mel file does not exist in the project file. So we can just simply select on create default workspace. Okay, so it will create this file over here. So once we have set the project, and now we are set to start with the model. We have set the unit to inches. Now let's create a cube, and the cube dimensions 23, and height is going to be 32 inches. Okay, now we have a pretty huge rectangle. Okay, so now we are going to place it above the grid. To place it exactly above the grid, let's press D to enter edit pivot. Okay, once you enter edit pivot, when you press D, when you hover over the the selected object's faces or vertex, you see vertex being highlighted, edge being highlighted, face being highlighted. It means if you click on the highlighted edge, the pivot point will be set and oriented towards the direction of the edge. Okay. Now the edge is facing this side, so that is why the pivot point is also facing this side. Okay. Now we want the pivot point to be at the end of the rectangle. So we are going to click here on the highlighted face of the bottom of the rectangle, and again press D to exit the edit pivot point mode. Okay. Now the pivot point is inverted. Okay, because it is set on component orientation. To reset it back to world orientation, all you have to do is, while you are in move tool, which means W, just hold on Control Shift and hold right click and hover over here on the world. Okay, it will reset. Now what you can do is go to side view, hold X and snap it to the zero of the world, zero origin point of the world. Okay, which is 0, 0, 0. If you know graph, this is 0, this is plus X, this is plus Z, this is minus Z, this is plus Y, this is minus Y. Okay, we are going to place it exactly on the 0. Now let's go to perspective view again. Let's exit from the move tool. Now what we are going to do is turn this into bounding box. Okay. Now let's click on this button over here which says create a new layer and assign selected object. Click on it. This object is assigned on this layer. Now all you have to do is click on this empty box, and T means transparent. Okay. Now the box is transparent. We can only see its edges. That is what we exactly want, because while we create something inside this bounding box, we want to be able to see through this bounding box. Now the purpose of this bounding box is to keep the whole model within this bounding box, because we have here height is 32 inches and width is 23 inches. We don't want our model to exceed the boundaries of this box. Okay, so now let's go in front view here, zoom out, and we are going to create a cylinder. Okay, now we will resize this cylinder exactly within the bounding box and place it on the grid. Now let's enter vertex mode and pull this up so it touches exactly the top part of the bounding box. Now we have a basic shape which is cylinder. Now you see we have this two protrusions on all the barrels. We have it here, 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 very slightly. So let's split the cylinder. I told you technique how to split the edge. So we are going to enter edge mode, select any edge, and for this model we don't need symmetry, so we are going to turn it off. Select any edge, hold Control, go to edge ring utilities and to edge ring and split. Okay, now this edge, the selected edge and all its looping edges are split exactly in between. Now double click to select the whole loop. Okay, and we will bevel it. Control B. Okay, now the edge is split exactly in half. Now let's bring this, decrease the fraction, and now we will bevel these edges again, decrease the fraction. Now we have this part over here. Now all we have to do is extrude. To extrude, we have to extrude on the z axis, which is blue line. This much looks enough. Now we will decrease a little bit of offset. You'll see what is that offset doing here. You see the height of that edge increasing and decreasing. We want that is what we want exactly. So let's leave it at there. Let's go to object mode. We have basic shape of cylinder. Now let's disable the grid by clicking on this button, and let's enter face selection mode. We'll select the faces. We'll press Ctrl E for extrude, and we are going to increase the offset. Looks like this much is enough. Once we have created the offset, we will extrude it inwards like this. Okay. Now we are going to do the same on the top of the barrel also. Ctrl E, offset, Ctrl E again, push it down a little. Okay. So we have this part over here. Let's model that too. Let's split this edge. Let's bring it up a little bit like this, and let's extrude it out a little bit. Now let's delete this top edge. To delete the top edge, all you have to do is double click on the edge. It will select the whole loop. What you have to do is hold shift right mouse button and hover over this delete edge button and let go of your right mouse button. And again we are going to split this edge exactly in between, and to do that, you know what we have to do. Select this edge, hold Control, right mouse button, edge ring utilities, and to edge ring and split. Okay. Let's bring this edge a little up, and let's bring this edge a little down. Okay, so this part is done, the barrel part is done. Now let's create the cap. Cap is not something very complex. It is just a cylinder. Let's create one more cylinder with fewer subdivisions. We'll keep around 16 subdivision axis, and let's go in top view and see where we can place it. Let's enable the wireframe overshaded. Let's snap it to the center by holding V and V. Let's bring it towards the side of the barrel. Like too small. Now it feels fine. Let's decrease it in height, and we'll place it over here. Okay. Let's move away from the edge, the border. Looks pretty much fine. And here we have I think we are done with the block part of the barrel. Okay, let's enable wireframe overshaded here, and let's hit Ctrl Shift S to save as, and we'll save our asset on assets folder. Let's name it BARREL barrel underscore block, because it is a block. We are on block staging, block 01. Okay. So in future, if we do any changes to this model, which is block model, we can save it by block 02. Okay. So we have barrel block 1. Just in case anything goes wrong in barrel block 02, we can go back to barrel block 01. Okay. So I told you the purpose of blocking the model, right? So there are 5 main reasons why. Let me explain you why we do the block stage first. So once you understand, you're gonna think, okay, it is pretty much common sense. So if you don't know, then I'll tell you what is the purpose of block. So very first purpose of the block is to establish the form. Okay, to establish the form, the blocking stage helps define the primary shapes and volumes of the model. Okay, by working with basic geometric primitives or simplified shapes. So you can quickly establish the general form of the object or character you are creating. This stage allows you to focus on getting the overall shape and proportions right before delving into the finer details like the shape details, or if you have any damage on the physical damage like dents on the barrel. For now, we are not going to go that route. So we are only creating this barrel so we can start learning the texturing. Okay. So one more purpose for creating the block is iteration and evaluation. Okay. Usually during the block stage, you can iterate and experiment with different design choices. Okay. If you have creative freedom while you are working, you can iterate, experiment with different design choices. You can easily make changes to the overall structure, proportions, and composition without being hindered by intricate details. Okay, so this flexibility allows you to explore more various ideas and evaluate different options before committing to a specific direction. Okay, and one more reason for the block stage is efficient workflow. Okay, starting with a simple blockout allows you to work more efficiently. So you can build the basic structure relatively quickly and enable you to identify potential issues clearly on. Okay, so if you started with the block model and while you are thinking of, you just want to get everything right in the block stage, the proportions, the sizes, and all. Okay, and what what is one more reason why we start with blocking is by addressing any problem or design flaws at the early stage, you can avoid wasting a lot of time on intricate details that may need to be modified or scrapped later. Okay, so and one more thing is collaboration and feedback. Okay, the block stage provides a solid foundation for the collaboration and feedback. You can share your block models with clients or your art director or other who are responsible of the project, and gather input and ensure that the initial vision aligns with their expectations. The simplified nature of the block model, it makes it easier for others to understand and provide creative feedback on the overall composition of the structure. Is It's a basic necessity for the block. And one more main reason why the block you artists start with the blocking part of the model is planning and visualization. The blocking stage helps you plan the subsequent stages of the modeling process. Okay, it provides a roadmap for adding details further on, refining shapes and determining the placement of more intricate elements. And by establishing the overall structure, you can visualize how the model will look and identify the area that requires further attention. Okay, these are the main reason to start with the block of the model. So we have basically one cylinder for the cap of the barrel. So let's move on. Let's end with this chapter, and in next chapter I'll show you the high poly part of this barrel.